Hello, welcome to Loyal Tops Creations channel. This is the first video or tutorial that I'll do in 2024. I must say a big thank you to all the subscribers on the channel, both new and old. I appreciate your support so much. Thank you for bearing with me in 2023. I wasn't able to be that visible, but I hope that in 2024 the tide will change and I'll have a lot more time to do my tutorials. Now, the first video that tutorial that I'm going to do today is a tutorial that a subscriber asked for, and when I was doing the video on how to finish a bracelet using the crimp tool, she asked for a tutorial on how I did the bracelet. Now, the bracelet comes under some designs that I call Fantasia, and so this is, if you look at the video, how to finish a bracelet using a crimp tool, you'll see that this is the bracelet that I made using pearls and onyx beads and chips. So this is what we're going to make today. Now, just to show you, I have different versions, or I made them in different stones. This is another one that I made with amethyst stones. This has a charm. So there's a variety of things that you can do. You can change the style and what is it, using the same general style, but then you can add your own flair to it. I also made earrings to match. You can see these go with the amethyst. These I made to go with the this bracelet. That is the black onyx and pearl, champagne pearl bracelet. And this is another, this was amethyst and silver. This one is amethyst and gold. So you can see, you can change. These are the earrings. You can change it up. You can do what you like, use different stones, but using the same idea. So this is what we're going to do. Now, what did I use here? I used chips, that is nuggets, small nuggets. I used pearls, some decoration. I used a toggle clasp. You can see at the back. Let me take this off. You can use, I use the toggle clasp because it's easier to do up. And that's just what I made. So today we're going to make a bracelet with the same idea, but in a different color. So we're making another Fantasia bracelet, and let me show you the things that I'm going to use to make it. Okay, so this is this design I'm going to do today, and it's still under what I call my Fantasia designs, but in this instance I'm going to use rose quartz and some agate beads. So I've laid my design out on my board, and then we will now bead along. So I've got my nuggets here, and I'll show you how I prepared them to be like this. Then I've laid out how I want to add the beads at the end. I've got my toggle clasp. I'm going to use a crimp tube and a crimp cover, and I'm also going to use some gimp at the end. That is French wire, bullion wire, or French wire, whatever you like to call it. This is the gimp I'm going to use at the end. Instead of that, you could also use your horseshoe guard if you want. I prefer to use gimp, so that is what I'm going to use at the end, just to protect the wire. I'm going to use my gimp at the end. I'm going to use my crimp tube and crimp cover as well. You can see you know what a crimp tube is, very tiny, and a crimp cover, which is the half moon cover. So that is what I'm going to use at the end. Now, first of all, we need to prepare our rose quartz chips. And to do that, I used some very, very light head pins. Very, very tiny, thin head pins. I bought these from Jewelry Maker a while back. I think 100 or so was about £5 or £3 something. So they're very, very thin wire. Very thin wire head pins. That is what I'm going to use to prepare this. So when you take one, of course, put it in and then just prepare it as if you want to add it to a necklace. That is using your round nose pliers. You can do it anyway. You can do it as you normally prepare a loop, and then just wind it round as many times as you like. The wire is quite thin, so it's very light to do. You do as many as you like, because the as many as you do depends on the length of the design. So I just did quite a few. So that is how you prepare the nuggets, the small nuggets. That is how you prepare it. Just make a loop and then wind the wire around so that you have a hole to pass your thread through. Now, if you, depending on the length of your bracelet, that will depend on, I think, the amount of chips, or the design of your bracelet rather would depend. The amount of chips you will use will depend on the design of your bracelet. So there's no hard and fast rule. So once you've made the loop, you cut off the excess wire, and then tuck the little bit left under, so that when you use it, it doesn't prick the hand. Now I use quite a bit of these chips because I wanted it to be, I wanted the design to show. Now the length of my bracelet is going to end up maybe about 8 inches. It all depends on you. Might be less than 8 inches, but I'm aiming at about maybe 7.5 to 8 inches. Now the wire that I'm going to use is bead along wire. Now normally I use 49. Is it 49 or 47? 49 strands, 47 strands, something like that. I've just ordered some this morning because I find out that I've run out of that. Yeah, 49. That's what I normally use. This is the one that I've just run out of, this one. So it's 49 strands. That is what I normally use, and this is, I'm using gold. But today, because I've run out, I'll also use 19. 19 too is strong, but I just like to overdo my things and use 49. So since I said I'm going to use 8 inches, I'm going to make the bracelet about 8 inches. I like to work with not too long, but enough wire or thread So I'm gonna add about an inch and a half on each side, and that will give me 11. So I'll probably cut off about 11 inches. The excess at the end I will tuck in, so I'm gonna cut off about 11 inches, if you can see that. 11 inches. So that is what I'm going to use to start my design. Now, when I start my design, I always, because I know what I'm going to put on, I'm going to add a clasp to one end first, and then bead along. So I use my crimp tube. I also have to cut my gimp, because I'm not going to use a guard. I'm using gimp on both sides, so I need about the same length of gimp. Maybe about, you don't need it to be too long, so I just cut off about a centimeter or so, or so I don't want it to be too long. So that is one. And you try to make them the same length so that it will look even on both sides. So that's the second one. That's the gimp that I used. So I've put on my tube. I need to put my wire through the gimp. It's a tiny hole, so you have to just be careful to put the wire in the gimp. It might take a little time. To get it into the, I've passed the wire through, and now I'll pass it through one end of my toggle clasp. And then of course you pass it back through the crimp tube. Oh, it's come off, so let's put it back. Remember not to use up too much of the excess that you added, so that you won't be short on the other end. So you pull it so that your gimp makes your horseshoe shape at the end. That is the gimp there, and then you now crimp it. You crimp your tube. And then of course you make it round enough using the other parts of your crimp tool. There you go. So that is one end done. And I will also add my crimp cover. And close it. Can use your pliers just to press the top to close it. There you go. And then cut off the excess wire. Be careful not to cut the main wire. In fact, you don't need to cut it off because I can tuck it in. So I will leave it for now and then tuck it in my beads. That is a better option than cutting it off. So now we can thread along. Now that's one end of the bracelet. So when I get to the chips, what I do is just to thread every single one onto the wire. Don't worry about how they'll fall, because by the time you thread all of them, they will find a place to sit on their own. Okay, so I've threaded all the chips, and when you jiggle it a little bit, they'll find their place to sit, so they'll fit together, and that gives you the fantasy. That's why I call it Fantasia. So that is the middle of your bracelet. You jiggle it around so that they're quite tight. They sit together, they fit together quite tightly, and then you go on to thread the rest of your beads. So this is the bracelet, and if we measure, yes, it's going to be about 8 inches. So if you want it to be shorter than that, then it's either you reduce your beads in the middle, or you take off possibly one of these on both sides. So that will give you a shorter length. You just need to jiggle it around and find out what suits you best. So I'm going to leave it as it is. And just as we started, we take our crimp tube, take our gimp, remember you have to be careful with gimp, because if it stretches before you can use it, then it's useless. You need to cut off another piece, so you have to be careful with this, and then put it through the other end of your toggle clasp. You use the gimp to protect the wire, and then you pass it back through the tube, and then you pull tight enough, make it tight enough. Now, as I said, I would like to put the excess here in a bead. So before I tighten it, I need to have enough room to put it through the bead, I could have done it earlier, but then it doesn't really matter. Just put it through. Okay, you can also go through another one. There you go. And then you can sit in the third one. Okay, so that's done. And then you just pull the other end of the bracelet tight. There you go. So that's the bracelet. Then you finish this just as you finished the other side using your crimping tool. Before I add my crimp cover, I'd like to pass this back into the beads. Just pass it back. Can pass it into another one. Actually, you can pass it into as many as you like, but I'll just pass it into 3. And then cut off the excess. So there you have it. And then I'll cut off the excess. So that's the bracelet. And now to finish up, we just add our crimp cover and close it. Let's see, we add the crimp cover and close. There you go. So that is our Fantasia bracelet. And that is exactly how I made this one. So that is what we have for today. And hopefully next week I'll be back with something else. So that is what we have for today. That is the making of our Fantasia bracelets. In this case, I use rose quartz and some agate beads. Thank you for watching our video this week. They're out every Friday at 7 p.m. Hopefully next week I'll be back with something else. Remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't, so that you'll know when the videos are released. And thank you so much for your support always. Bye for now. Bye.